This episode is sponsored by Nicole Bruce Education. Visit www.nicolebruce.co to view our courses and resources to assist in the business growth of photographers and creatives.
Thank you for listening to the Mentor Project, where we discuss marketing, SEO, how to go full-time in your business, and so much more. Here's your host, Nicole Bruce.
Today I have with me Bryden Giving. Bryden is a phenomenal photographer focusing on colorful and magical images for his clients. Not only that, but he is a personality that jumps off the page and inspires others in so many different ways. Today, he is here to share his incredible story and teach us a few things about how he creates his magical masterpieces. Bryden, thank you so much for coming on to talk with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's quite the honor.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Okay, so I know I have actually been following your story for quite a while, and it's been such an awesome story to see. Um, I know you are on the Ellen show at one point too, which is pretty cool. Would you feel comfortable going into your personal story a little bit as well as telling us about your business?
Yes, absolutely. So, with regards to the Ellen show, so I am an openly gay man, and I came out to my mother. God, it feels like a lifetime ago. I'd say about 6 years ago, and it wasn't, obviously any young person's dream for coming out. My mom cried, I cried, and our relationship kind of faltered for a little bit, and it took her quite a bit of time to adjust to it. And but now we're best friends and such. Well, and she loves my partner, and my mom loves the Ellen show. And so every now and then my mom will mention how she kind of regrets how she first reacted. She wishes that she was more accepting right off the bat. And so I always tell her, and even Zach, my partner, will always tell her, like, Bryden never talks about when he first came out. Like, I never think about it. I forget that it even happens. And so I just wish that she would kind of forgive herself in a sense. And so I thought, what a cool way to see, to really show how much I really love her, and to show that I really do forgive her, because she loves the Ellen show. And the Ellen show, she said, that helped her, become more accepting, is what if I can get her on the Ellen show. And long story short, I sent the Ellen show every week for about 6 to 7 weeks a letter, pretty much saying how wonderful my mom is, how wonderful the Ellen show has been to help my mom and I grow close and such. And they flew us out, and they told us we were going to be in the audience, and there's no way we're going to be called on the show. But if we do get called on to the show, though it's not going to happen, they always emphasized was to make sure not to hug Ellen too hard, because she has a really bad lower back.
Oh my
And
God.
I know, but of course, right after they said that, they were like, "You're not going to go on the show. I mean, you're not going to go on the stage, but it's something in our policy. We have to tell everybody, because she does have games and surprises and stuff." And then Ellen started reading off like a script saying, "So received this letter from a viewer in Big Lake, which is my hometown," and I instantly knew that my mom and I were about to get called onto the stage to join Ellen. And my mom started bawling, and it was just so beautiful. And yeah, it was a tremendous adventure for sure. And regards to my photography business, I've been a professional photographer, gosh, I would say 3 to 4 years. And weddings, I'd say, yeah, about 3 years for sure. So maybe technically a novice, no, maybe not too much of a newbie, but still in the little kid photo exciting game. So
Yeah, I see so much of your work, and it's just, when you see your work just scrolling through Facebook, I'll just be scrolling on my feed, and every time it comes up, I'm like, I know who did that because it's so unique, all the colors, and it really is just magical. Like, I've never seen anyone else capture photos the way you do.
oh, I appreciate that, thank you.
So
And
obviously, your story has so much to do with your business, and I've watched your
yeah,
story grow, and your positivity is always radiating in your work and with your clients too. So, do you share your life and incorporate a lot into your business, your Instagram stories, your branding, and stuff like that too?
Yeah, oh my gosh, great question. I think just even my personal philosophy about life, I really view life through a warm, vibrant, and colorful and hopeful, light-filled kind of lens. And I always imagine, if I ever received, images from a very significant day, like a wedding day, or um, we had a family photo shoot, or even just traveling, visiting a different country, and attempting to capture the colors and just the culture of a place. I always try to really emphasize light and warmth and color in my images to kind of because it's just who I am as a person. Probably even my partner might even say maybe. I mean, he probably won't even say because he's way too nice. But I can be pretty obnoxious with my positivity and my hopefulness and my I romanticize everything, but I love that. And so I really think that my personal philosophy about life really seeps into how even I pose and how I end up editing my images. And so I think, with how my brand, trying to emphasize my brand as being kind of, really earthy, light, whimsical, colorful. Like I'm always shooting through glass, I'm shooting through plastic straws to try to get a little extra touch of whimsy to add to photos. And definitely that seeps into my brand, especially when I share on Instagram or Facebook when I want to use, some maybe watercolor cut off paper borders to showcase photos from a recent shoot or such. So it definitely my life philosophy, probably maybe too much to a certain extent, seeps into how I tell my story with my business and my images for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
So you mentioned like shooting through straws and different things like that. What do your clients think when you like bring out a straw in the middle of a reception?
I know. Yeah, God, what was it? There was gosh, I did a recent. It was a lesbian wedding. It was two women, and they were all about the color and they were all about the light. And I remember seeing in a Facebook group called Looks Like Film about her name is Kylie Patel. She released a really great blog about how she took a bunch of different colored plastic straws from Target, taped them together, and she shot through them with a really low depth of field, like a 1.2, 1.4, and how it just adds a beautiful like watercolor light flare, and it looks awesome. And so here I am at this two women wedding, and of course they're all about the colors, and it was Pride weekend, it was Pride month, and they're like, yes, they were like, we don't know what the heck you're doing with those straws that are wrapped around your camera lens, but we don't care. And of course, I love when people come up to me and they'll ask, so can I just see what it looks like? Because I love that people are interested, because I'm more than happy to share everything, whether it's I'm using a prism or maybe I'm shooting through a glass of water to get a little bit of a extra kind of painterly look with a certain image. It's fun to have people come up to me and be kind of curious George and ask so I can share. Um, yeah, it's fun.
Oh my gosh, I can just imagine like other like professional photographers like watching you in the park and they're like, "What is he doing?"
I know. WTF to the max. It's fun.
Oh god. Okay. So obviously a lot of your stuff is done in camera through straws
Yes.
or whatever you decide to use that day. But a lot of it is kind of done in editing too, right? Like with the
Right.
colors and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, I really like to use color theory in my images for sure. I think using color theory is I'd say easily the base for how I edit my images for sure.
Yeah, so can you go into kind of like what color theory is and how you kind of utilize that?
Yeah, absolutely. Color theory actually. So I remember reading this like research article. It was like a science and art article, and it was talking about how color theory provides kind of it's like a best practice method for displaying and combining colors in a certain way that evokes certain feelings, moods, and emotions. And this research article is literally backing about how you can edit an image in a way the human eye, favors visually appealing color combinations, and in a sense, that's also called color harmony.
Mhm.
And so, essentially, what that means is, I use a form of color harmony. I use is called complementary color harmony. So I love to have combinations of certain colors that that make the image like literally scientifically more colorful without even adding more saturation or vibrance to the photo. So, for example, if I take an image of, let's say, a landscape image, I will add probably some maybe warmth to the shadows, like orange. Orange and blue, they're complementary colors, and when they're together, they visually make the image extra more colorful, even without bumping up that saturation. So maybe if I take that landscape image, I'll add warmth, orange and reds to the shadows, like in the grass,
Hmm.
and then in the sky, I'll add maybe some more blue and more, maybe it's just some light pink, because they're complementary colors. They're the exact opposite on the color wheel, and so having those combination of colors will emphasize just color in general in the image. And I gosh, I got this idea. I looked more into this. What's his name? Let me find it. There's a photographer that released this massive, beautiful resource talking about color harmony and how you can utilize color theory. And he goes through all these wonderful examples with different paintings. His name is Dave Morrow Photography, and he gives really great instructions on how you can utilize color theory using the color wheel and all that to make your images just even more visually appealing. Whether or not you even want to add extra color, but it'll just scientifically make the image more visually appealing to the human eye, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're not only like you're literally breaking it down into a science of
Yeah,
how you
it's really
can make it visually appealing just by our biology.
Yeah, it's nuts. And there's like another color harmony that I feel like that I've not touched on yet. That's like triadic color harmony. It's like you use three or more colors and they're spaced evenly throughout the image. So in a sense, the colors themselves make a triangle within the image, but you wouldn't really necessarily see the triangle. It's just the colors are formed like that, and so that's another way to make the image like more colorful. I mean, there's many different kinds of color harmonies, and Dave goes into really great detail on how to utilize this to make your image more colorful. It's so cool.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my god.
crazy. And I don't think I know anyone else that uses that, especially in like wedding images and stuff like that. So I mean, your clients see these photos and they're so different from everyone else. Do you have like a huge demand for your work because it's so unique and it's so amazing?
Oh my god, you're so nice. Well, I think depends on how you define huge demand. I'm a full time pediatric occupational therapist. I work with kiddos during the week, and so I do travel projects and wedding photography on the side, and so I only take 10 to 12 weddings a year because I don't want to burn myself out, and I do love weddings and photography so much that I don't want to get rid of that as an occupation.
Mhm.
But um, I don't do a whole lot of marketing through Facebook or like using a Facebook business page or an Instagram. It's just strictly through word of mouth, and I've been very fortunate enough to been able to meet my quota every year just through word of mouth and just posting on my personal Facebook page,
Yeah.
which has been really good. So definitely a blessing for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you use obviously your color theory and
Yes.
but it's not when I look at your image, it's not just like, whoa, the colors, it's whoa, the clients look really in love or they look like they're really happy, they're laughing, they're smiling, even if they're just standing there looking at each other. They just look more emotional than other photos. So how do you achieve the emotion and the client connection in the photos that you take?
Absolutely. Well, I think it even begins with before a lot of my clients have been really fortunate. I have some sort of personal connection to them. Either I went to college with them, they are longtime family friends, and so at some point, all of my clients, whether or not I have a previous relationship with them, they have seen my work, and so they know that before I even photograph their wedding day or before I photograph their session, they know that they can trust me to get really beautiful, wonderful images because I have even told them I have worked. You can even call yourself the most awkward couple. You can call yourself, you know, whatever you like, but you're gonna look amazing on camera, and you're gonna have a beautiful, wonderful time. And so even having that kind of conversation beforehand, I think make helps people feel more natural. But even the way photograph like a wedding day, I definitely photograph, a lifestyle photojournalistic style where I don't do really any posing. The only posing I do during a wedding day is those family formals or those wedding party images that are equally important. But I love just photographing people in their natural element doing what they're doing. So even the wedding portraits where I go steal the bride and bride, groom and groom, the wedding partners together, and it's just the two of them. um, I might give them a prompt or two, like, I want you to tell him or her your favorite memory. What is something you're most proud of? Um, what is your most favorite aspect of her, or what are you most proud of in your relationship? And they'll talk for like a minute or two, and then I'll tell them, okay, now I want you to just to hold each other, and it feels more natural like that. Um, and I think that's what has really helped people to feel more comfortable when I photograph them, is I give them a prompt to kind of feed off of and to help them get in the mood. I don't ask them to stand over there and then like look at me or then look at each other. Like I understand that even for me that's really hard to do. And um, if it doesn't feel natural in the moment, it's not going to feel natural in camera either. And
Yeah.
that's basically, yeah, I use definitely like a lot of prompting. And that's natural to them though too, because some couples they're not as really romantic, and that's 100% fine. You just have to find some prompts and find some source of inspiration that works well with that couple. And so often I'll do some research beforehand to kind of learn more about them and try to come up with some really fun ideas that will work for them and not just for every single couple, because you have to really personalize obviously the wedding day for that couple. But even my prompts, I try to personalize every single time.
Yeah. So this is just out of curiosity. When you get an
Yeah.
inquiry, are your couples generally when they're inquiring, are they usually very like in tune to your work? Like, oh my gosh, I saw your work. It's awesome. We need you. Or do you still get kind of like general inquiries as well?
Yeah, I think it's a fun mix. I'd say most of them, they see my work and they get really excited and they say like, yes, I'd love to meet you. What's your pricing? Tell me everything. And I'll be like, heck yes, here's all the information. And then I do get inquiries from people that have no idea who I am, and they just were I was a recommendation from another photographer friend or from a family member, and that maybe they somehow reached my website and they didn't even look at my images, which is totally okay, but they're just looking for a wedding photographer, which is equally beautiful.
Yeah. So obviously, part of the wedding industry is being unique, and you found that. Do you
Right.
have any advice for other people that are trying to be unique and stick out?
Yeah, I definitely just finding really being patient with yourself and finding what works for you. I know when I first started, I really, I had a lot of friends that are wedding photographers, and they all edit in a very similar way where, it's their darker images, the greens or the colors in general are desaturated, a lot of brown
Mm,
tones. Um, and that is really beautiful. And I started to, to edit images like that because I thought, oh, if this is what's cool, this is what everybody else does, I should edit like this as well. And but even when I was editing them and I felt like my images, I would try to make them look like somebody else's, I was so unhappy and I was not excited for the editing process. And it was really taking its toll on me, and I was getting very, very discouraged. And then when I started, getting more and more discouraged and sad about the work I was producing and being so unhappy, I took a took a pause and I reflected, okay, I need to learn, okay, this is just because this is what they do. This does not mean this is what I have to do. And so I really started thinking about, okay, who are the people that inspire me the most? How do they make me feel? Because I firmly believe that you could give someone $1 million, but people are going to remember you for how you made them feel, and not so much for what you gave them. And so I started thinking about all the people that inspire me and that make me feel so loved and happy and warm and so colorful. And I started thinking, oh my gosh, like maybe I should just kind of go for more painterly, dreamy, hopeful, warm, like colorful images. And I started editing, utilizing light and really looking at colors and really focusing on like just the natural elements of that wedding day or just the session. And God, I was so happy. I was so, even like the editing, I was so freaking pumped to edit and really think about, oh my gosh, which color should I try emphasizing in this photo, or naturally what colors already exist in this photo? How can I utilize these colors to really emphasize this couple's like wedding story and make it look more like a painting? And just every image, I was just so excited, even if it was just the bride's dress hanging in a tree, or if it was just, a simple image of wedding details or whatever. I was always so dang pumped to figure out, okay, how can I add just an extra touch of whimsy to this image? Um, Sorry, long answer to your question.
No, that was perfect. I think a lot of us get wrapped up in what everyone else is doing, and it's really hard not to, because there's always people that you're going to idolize, and there's always people that look like they're busier than you are. So
Right,
it's really
absolutely.
hard to not just stick to the normal and do what you do.
Yeah,
But yeah, just doing what you want to do and what makes you happy is finding your editing style. And that took a while for me, and it takes a while for everyone. I always tell people it takes a few years to just
yeah,
find that
absolutely.
spot where every time you edit an image, you're like, oh, this is gorgeous. But it takes a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing though too, is I think there's a lot of like interesting conversations that happen in the photography
Hmm.
world, like especially in the wedding photography world, about whether or not you should use presets or whether or not you should follow photo trends. And I always tell my friends or anybody who ever comes to me with questions about editing or posing or anything to do with photography, even if it's the most popular trend, or um there's something you see that everybody is doing, and that but you feel like that's what you want to do it. There's nothing wrong with utilizing presets or utilizing a current trend. Like if that's something you really want to try using, use it. I think um, really vouching for people that want to utilize trends is equally beautiful and equally important. It doesn't make you less of an artist in any way, and I feel like that's a really important conversation that photographers need to start having, because I always feel like I see in these Facebook groups about people bashing on other people using photo trends or making fun of them, and I feel like that's just because maybe you feel like you don't fit in a current trend doesn't mean you didn't fit in a current trend like 5 years ago, or that your work is any better.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So,
That's a really good point. And I think the point I always make too is, even if someone comes to me and they ask what preset I use, and I give them that same preset and I give them one of my photos, they're going to edit it in a different way than I do.
absolutely.
Because I mean, it's so hard to actually have like the same editing style as someone else. It's always going to be different even with the same resources.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Perfect. So we've talked about so much today, and before we wrap up, I do want to ask you just a few fast and fun questions about you.
Love it.
Okay, favorite ice cream?
Oh my god. Cookie dough fudge brownie, or the Jimmy Fallon the Tonight Show dough that Ben and Jerry has easily.
Oh god, yeah. We found this cookie dough brownie mix. I can't remember who makes it. Crap. It's so good though. Oh my gosh, it's the best. Okay, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay. And would you rather go to the mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Okay, same here. Okay, so obviously we just started touching on your knowledge of color theory, your work, and I want everyone to see your work as well. So where can we find you for more information?
Yes, you can find me at my website, which is www.brydengivingphoto.com. So my name, so it's spelling it out. It's www.bryden giving giving photo.com, and then you can find me on Instagram as well at Bryden Giving Photographer.
So, we obviously talked about a ton today. You've shared your story with us and even a little bit about the Ellen show, which was, I almost started crying, honestly, right
Oh
there.
man, thank
Um,
you.
and also methods about how you create unique and magical photos with color theory and being intimate with clients and just really getting to know them. Thank you so, so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. It was a wonderful honor. Thank you.
Of course. And for everyone listening, again, thank you guys so much. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys next week.